Come to North Africa and the Monastir International Airport in Tunisia for the start of an exhilarating new global racing championship.
What we have here at the Air Race 1 World Cup is very, very different. We've got 8 airplanes racing together against each other at the same time on the same circuit at speeds of up to 450 kilometers per hour, all trying to be the first one across the finish line, and that's the winner. So it is a pure competitive, real race, very, very, very thrilling, dynamic event.
I think it's the best air race and air sport in the world.
It's back to old school racing. It's one person against another against the other.
I fly, and going fast and flying low and not getting in trouble for it is a great thing.
We don't do aerobatics, but we're racing 8 at a time, wingtip to wingtip. Some of the faster aircraft getting up towards 260, 270 mile an hour, which is faster than any other motorsport in Europe.
It's quite fun, exhilarating, scary. Any emotion you can think of, it happens all in that 8 minutes that we're out there going in circles.
Racing on the course is a very, very intense experience. It's very addictive, it's exciting, it's just plain fun.
It's sporty. When you're pulling 2, 3, 4 G-forces, you do want to be on your game. It takes intense focus, and the challenge of that is mentally rewarding to me.
And the low-level flying, the buzz you get from racing around here, wingtip to wingtip with another guy, 50 feet, 200 odd mile an hour, is just nothing comes close.
There's other types of racing, air racing venues out there, and it's when you get right down to it, it's time trials. It's one person against the clock. So as exciting as that is, pylon air racing takes that to the next level, and that pits everybody against each other, and it's more than just one person everybody's watching.
Some of the races have one airplane flying at a time, or a show that has one airplane flying at a time. This is the only sport in the world where 8 airplanes are racing at the same time. It's a dynamic sport, and there's nothing like it in the world.
Formula One air racing has been around for about 70 years, but this is the first time in the history of the sport that we've had an international series with pilots from all over the world, many, many countries, to make this World Cup come to fruition. So this will be the first time where we've had a proper title in international air racing.
The inaugural season of the Air Race 1 World Cup will run across 3 events in 3 separate continents. From the season opener here in Tunisia, the competition will move to Lleida in northern Spain. The championship will then conclude in the USA as part of the Reno National Air Races. Flying just a few meters apart at speeds of over 450 kilometers an hour requires pure concentration, precision and commitment.
It's a bit 3D, so as well as overtaking, if you're overtaking in a car, you mirror indicate maneuver, as they say. Well, we don't really do that. We do it in 3 planes, so as well as pulling out, we got the height. So around the corners, if you want to overtake, then you need to be up above the other guy and not following like that. Plus you've got the turbulence either from the ground, with the beautiful weather here, the sun makes the turbulence come up, and also the prop wash from the other aeroplanes. So you have that to contend with as well as your race strategy.
We have very specific rules we have to follow, so that makes it even harder. You can't just duck inside somebody like you can in NASCAR. We have to pass on the outside, and so that's what keeps it harder.
You feel every lump and bump, particularly when you're chasing someone, when you're trying to get up behind them. They're disturbing the air as they go through it, and you hit every lump and bump that they make, and sometimes it can be quite vicious. If you catch it awake and it can flick you upside down, so you've got to be very, very careful with that.
As a general rule of thumb, you need a good 15 mile an hour of speed advantage to pass somebody, because what happens as you go into a turn, if I'm trying to pass somebody only on the outside again, is as soon as the lead plane, as soon as he rolls, he loses any ability to look over his shoulder and see me out of the side of his eye. So I've got to roll high to keep him in sight. Now it slows my plane down, both by a longer track and losing energy climbing. But as we come back into the back straight, then I can convert that little bit of extra altitude into a dive, and I should be able to accelerate past him.
We've got the sun, to the west of us, and when we turn, our shadows show down onto the water. As we start to roll, we can look and see who's close to us. We really can't look up, because if we do, you see how my shoulder moves. And that little movement in our plane It would cause us to rise. If someone's there, we would hit. If I roll my hand that much, I've done a roll. But up like that would be a loop. It's that twitchy. It's a very gradual, easy movements.
Having topped the times in the qualifier, Sweden's Tom Richard would start the first heat from pole position. American pilot Steve Temple had proved to be Richard's closest rival in qualifying and would line up in second, with countryman Jay Jones setting the third fastest time. Here's Chris Hartley with a roundup of the first race of the weekend.
In Air Race 1, the action always gets underway from a standing start, and first to leave the runway was the yellow cassette of Jay Jones. But with pole position, Tom Richards had the advantage of the inside line. Just behind, Michael Mundell gained an early position to move up to fourth. The race leader banked through the first turn on this high-speed oval, but Steve Temple was still under pressure for second place as he continued to come under fire from J. Bird Jones, a veteran with some 17 years of Formula One air racing to his name. Temple dropping down to pick up speed. And further back, Philip Goforth was embroiled in a close battle for sixth place with Justin Philipson in the green cassette. Goforth taking the high line and powering by at mid-distance. Having set the fastest lap of the race, averaging some 342 kilometres an hour, the leader then slowed and was overtaken by Steve Temple, the American airline pilot powering into first place without hesitation, immediately posting a new fastest lap, on which he averaged just over 371 kilometres an hour. Shortly afterwards, Richard pulled out of the race completely. The Florida-based Swede grounded after suffering a technical issue. Drama 2 for Kent Castles, who picked up a time penalty for cutting inside one of the pylons, which marks out the perimeter of the course. But there were no mistakes for Steve Temple, who went on to win the race with an average speed of 357 kilometres an hour. And the closest of finishes saw Justin Philipson and Philip Goforth crossing the line nose to tail, the blue and yellow cassette narrowly claiming fifth place, leaving Goforth to celebrate in style.
Well, the result sees Steve Temple winning the heat with an average speed of 357 kilometres an hour. Despite a penalty for cutting a pylon, Jay Jones finishes second from Michael Mundell.
It was a tone setter to me, and it's a congratulations to my crew chief, because the goal for this year was reliability. And as you saw, you can have a hot airplane, but if you can't keep it reliable, it doesn't stay in the race. And our goal is to stay in the race every time.
After retiring from the lead of the race at mid-distance, Tom Richard will now have to start the semi-final from last position.
We were showing very good speeds and everything was performing happily and no problem. We did a few laps and then all of a sudden the temperature spiked. So obviously I had a failure in my cooling system. So instead of beating up the engine and totally implode the aircraft, I landed instead and pulled out of the race. Ended up with a DNF, did not finish. So it places me in the back of the heat tomorrow. I'll just have to pass everybody.
The technical regulations in Air Race 1 ensure a fair competition, with all entries using the same type of power unit, honed by performance specialists such as Nicholson McLaren, the series' official engine partners. But the regulations also encourage freedom of design.
Looking around the pits, I'm sure you see there's a lot of different designs. No two airplane looks the same. And a lot of these airplanes, probably half the field are all cassettes, which is what this one is. But none of them look the same. So that's one of the fun things about Formula One racing is you get to see everybody's ideas and their theories on what they think goes fast. So you see a lot of creativity out here.
So these planes are actually built by the pilots and an engineering crew, so they're all very unique airplanes. They're built specifically to fit the pilot, to fit his racing style, and they all have their different technical differences and their secrets and their tricks, but they're all built to a formula. So that's where, of course, it comes from the name Formula One, which has been used for about 70 years in this sport, because it's built to a specific formula. So they're all competing on an even playing field, but at the same time, we're able to use technology, and it's down to getting the best race line, the best race pilot, and a good race plane, and make it competitive and get across that line.
Originally, the engines that these airplanes use were designed in the 50s. They are 200 cubic inch engines, and they are designed to have a revolutions of approximately 25 to 2,700 RPM. These airplanes, the fast ones, will have revolutions in the neighborhood of 4,000. revolutions per minute. So that's almost twice as much as what they're designed for.
If you've got something with a large or a wide fuselage, a wide frontal area, they've got to move the air out of the way to get through it. So if you can make it as slim as you can, just to fit around you, that's going to help towards having the best aerodynamic profile.
More air racing after the break as we build up to the gold final. Monastir in Tunisia provides a beautiful setting for the inaugural Air Race 1 World Cup event, and it's a groundbreaking event in more ways than one.
This is a really, really exciting moment in the history of all air racing, we believe. The Air Race 1 World Cup is starting its first inaugural series here in Monastir, Tunisia, and we're at the Monastir Habib Bourguiba Airport for a very, very exciting moment. This is going to be the first Formula One class of air race in the history of the continent of Africa. So we got a bunch of teams here from lots of different countries who are already out there racing and performing, and they're really getting their edge down. Very, very exciting sport for the crowd.
Absolutely beautiful location, a fabulous venue for this inaugural event, and the people of Tunisia have just been absolutely fantastic.
All the people we've met here have just been wonderful, and you can tell they're very interested in what we're doing. Typically at the races in Reno, I have a lot of children that want to sit in the airplane and get their picture taken. I've had more adults here, friend local adults that have gotten in the airplane, so it's been kind of nice.
Time for some more action as the fastest pilots from the qualifiers go head-to-head in the semi-final. At stake, a place in the final and crucial championship points. Tom Richard retired from the lead of the first heat and will have to start this one from the back, while Steve Temple lines up on pole. Chris Hartley describes the best of the action.
So, 8 thoroughbred race planes went head-to-head in the semi-final here at the Monastir Habib Bourguiba Airport. And there was a lightning start from the red 33 plane of Michael Mandel. The yellow machine of Jay Jones going with him, while pole sitter Steve Temple dropped back to third place. A variety of different lines being taken as everyone accelerated onto the 5-kilometre oval course. Making good early progress was Tom Richard, straight up to 4th place from the back of the field. Jones was also looking fast in quad nickel racer as he charged past Mandel for the lead, moving onto the back straight. But right above them, and now third, was Richard. Mandel was duly dispatched, and Jones was about to receive the same treatment as Hot Stuff pushed up towards 400 kilometres an hour, and Richard completed his rise to the top of the leaderboard. Just reward for crew chief Brendan Burns and the rest of Richard's team, having put in some long hours to fix the plane's overheating issues from the previous day. What's more, the plane was quicker than ever, setting the fastest lap of the weekend so far at an astonishing average speed of 376 kilometres an hour. Also moving up the order was Florida-based pilot Ken Castles, and he carried great momentum onto the back straight to sweep past Philip Goforth and Justin Phillipson in quick succession. With Richard and Jones now established as the top two, we will have to enjoy a great dice for third place as Steve Temple began to reel in the fast-starting Michael Mandel. Using his superior height to sweep down and gain speed, Temple then made the decisive move. No doubting the star of the show though, as Richard won the race with an average speed of 362 kilometres an hour.
So, confirmation of the results, but who else would be joining these pilots in the gold final? One last chance for the slower qualifiers to make the back of the grid via the silver final, as Chris reports.
With Trevor Jarvis and Dave Holmgren both unable to take the start, it was left to Philip Goforth and Justin Phillipson to fight it out for the win as they resumed what had become an epic weekend-long battle between the pair. Hailing from Texas, Goforth has been racing Formula One planes for 7 years, while Phillipson, aboard the Green Cassette, is a relative newcomer, having been named Rookie of the Year at the 2012 Reno Air Races. Des Hart completed the top 3, the Scotsman having won the class in last year's test event at Lleida in Spain. As the flag dropped, it was Goforth who emerged as the winner, having found a way past Williamson. Both would again be in action for the gold final.
With huge potential to grow, it's significant that the sport's key governing bodies are all behind the Air Race 1 World Cup.
This particular event is being sanctioned by all three governing bodies, the Americans, the English, and the French. I'm here as one of the representatives from the governing organization in the United States, International Formula One. So that's particularly what my role is here.
Formula One Air Racing Association of the UK is very, very keen to support Air Race 1 in bringing Formula One to a wider audience, and we do expect completely that this is going to be coming to the UK in the coming seasons.
It's worth remembering that the pilots can only compete thanks to the many hours of meticulous preparation from their support crews.
Basically, my job is to look at every detail, every minute of the day. When this cowling's off, I look at the same bolt 100 times.
Every flight it comes back, we have to tinker with something. Fouled spark plugs mainly, magneto issues, fuel leaks, oil leaks, never ending.
You're constantly taking things apart and looking at it and improving it, whether it may be changing a prop or checking, seeing if anything's scraping or touching. Kind of keep the pilot cool whenever his spring is wound up tight.
They're always after that extra knot, another mile an hour, another 2 miles an hour. And there are quite a few parameters, different courses, different pilots, you know, if they're quick off the line, if they're not quick off the line. And there's certain things we can do to the engine just to get that extra little mile an hour.
Well, there's a lot of delegation. The crew chief's position is like a general manager. And what I do is check after everyone's work, delegate tasks, and generally make sure that the airplane's ready to fly when Tom needs it to be ready to fly.
For me, I've wanted to work on racing planes since I was 3 years old. So for me, it's a dream come true. Even with the 14-hour days.
A lot of late nights, but the satisfaction I get is when she crosses the finish line, brings my pilot home. That's my satisfaction.
So it's time to race towards what promises to be a thrilling conclusion to the opening run of the championship here in Tunisia. It's time for the gold final. Your commentator, Chris Hartley.
This is it, the climax to what's been a terrific event here in Tunisia as the gold final gets underway. First, it's the drag race down to the runway as the finalists pick up speed and get airborne. Tom Richard coming into the race as the red-hot favourite, and it looks like the pole sitter will be the first one to head across onto the oval course. He whistles past, followed closely by Jay Jones, who looks to be the man most likely to challenge the Swede, especially because Steve Temple has missed the start of the race. The team had to make a number of repairs to his plane. They had only a limited amount of time to do that, and in the rush they overlooked the refuelling procedure. So he's filling up as we speak, leaving this man to take the fight to Richard. Although down below there's been another demon start from Michael Mundell in the red cassette. Mundell taking a very low approach to the straight, just metres above the runway, with Richard up high. It looks like that tactic has got Mundell ahead of Jones for second. Can he go one better and challenge for the lead? Not if Tom Richard can help it. Having set the pace all weekend, he doesn't want to loosen his grip on victory at this late stage. There's Jay Jones aboard Quad Nickel Racer, the cassette that he's been piloting to great effect since 1997. He finished second in both the heat and the semi-final. At the moment, he's running in third place. There goes Richard, just beginning to edge clear now. Amongst the many things he's raced, one of the famous P-51 Mustangs in the unlimited class at the US Nationals, having decided he was going to become a champion air racer when he was just 7 years old. Looking over the shoulder of Jay Jones now, and he's beginning to close back in on Michael Mundell for second place. We saw in the semi-final that Mundell is able to make fantastic starts, but hasn't necessarily got the outright pace to be able to stay out front once the race gets into its flow. Mundell stays low, Jones is at mid-height, and just ahead you can see from the graphic that Tom Richard has crossed the line with a new fastest lap of the race. Running in fourth place is Kent Castles, who sets a personal best lap at 335 kilometres an hour, albeit almost 50k slower than our race leader. Back to this battle for second place, and this time around the gap looks to have grown slightly. Mike Mundell doing well here to fend off Jones, especially when you consider he's still one of the least experienced pilots in the field, having only made his race debut in 2013. Appropriately, the man from Ohio, USA, calls his plane Second Wind. Certainly looks like he's got one here as he responds to the pressure that's been coming pretty relentlessly from Jones. But here you can see Jones suddenly closing right in as they come onto the runway straight. The yellow cassette is carrying more speed, and there goes Jones. Absolutely nothing Mundell could do about that. Set up the move beautifully, and after showing a great deal of patience, Jones is through to second place. And there is Steve Temple. Good to see the crew were able at least to get him into the race, but I'm afraid he's given everyone a huge head start. He should pick up some championship points, but as someone who looked dead set for the podium this weekend, he'll be feeling very disappointed. Not sure he'd have been able to stop this man though, as Tom Richard continues to press on. 382 kilometres an hour the average speed that time around, and that's now the fastest lap of the entire weekend. Having been released from that battle with Mike Mundell, Jay Jones is now going quicker and quicker in second place, but cannot match the pace of Richard. In fact, as we watch Mundell come through, the second quickest plane on the course at the moment is actually number 87, none other than Steve Temple. And here's the view from Justin Philipson. Kermit has entertained us royally this weekend, and surprise, surprise, he's having another close battle with the blue and yellow machine of Phil Goforth. Running 5th and 6th, both men coming up to be lapped. Our race leader on his final circuit now, but he won't quite lap this pair, so Philipson and Goforth can enjoy one more lap of battling. That's good news for Goforth because he's tended to have the edge in the closing stages. The flag is ready, there's Richard in the background, and he wins the opening round of the Air Race 1 World Cup here in Monastir. What a fantastic performance from the whole team, with a plane which they haven't been running for very long. And well done to this man, Jay Jones, using all his experience to finish as our runner-up here in Tunisia. A great effort too from Mike Mundell. He made a mega start and he fended off Jones for a number of laps. Kent Cassels has finished 4th, but what about 5th? He's done it again. Phil Goforth pips Philipson on the run into the flag. A photo finish to wrap up the gold final.
And so it's Tom Richard who takes a dominant victory with that incredible average speed of 373 kilometres an hour. Let's hear now from our top two.
The airplane is obviously incredibly fast and it shows a lot of promise in the future, so we're very excited about it. We'll iron out our bugs and we'll make it happen, so we pulled off this win and hopefully we'll take the next one also.
I had a hard battle with Mike. I was having a little engine issue, so I was having to soften the throttle, go real rich until she finally, the temperatures cooled down, then I could, push the power back up. I had to pass him almost 3 times to finally get around him really good. And, did her little usual thing. She's been doing this for me since 1997, so she's held in really nice for us.
La Tunisie essaie toujours de donner une belle image.
For Tunisia, we hope to leave a good impression on the countries who've participated here, and that's to say that Tunisia is always open to these kinds of contests, especially to our friends who had this great idea to organise this event.
Pour organiser comme cet événement.
Not a bad weekend for Tom Richard as he wins the first ever air race in Africa. Join us next time for round 2 in Spain.